All right, good morning, true believers. Been off for a while, but I am back. This is John Krupa, the freedom to draw unsolved mysteries. Today we have a case that happened way back in 1996. And it is a case that is still baffled authorities to this day. No one can understand or figure out what happened to this first grader in 1996 in Austin, Texas. This is the Freedom to Draw Unsolved Mysteries. I'm your host, John Krupa, and today's case is the case of Katherine Korzilius. Now, true crime people will know about this case like the back of their hand, but we're going to draw her and tell you about her story, the unexplained death of Katherine Korzilius, on today's episode of the Freedom to Draw Unsolved Mysteries. Now, a lot of people know about this case, but not everybody knows that Jon Bon Jovi wrote a song about this case directly. And we're going to have Jon Bon Jovi relaxing piano music on in the background as we draw this Katherine Korzilius. The Katherine Korzilius case is a complex and complicated case, guys. You really have to pay attention. And before I start anything, you should familiarize yourself with this map. This is where Katherine was found, and that is where Katherine's home was, and that's where the mailbox is. Now, this was an affluent area where they lived. All the houses were set back and apart from each other. There was a lot of spaces of, people couldn't see in plain sight. There was a lot of open areas, and the neighbors couldn't just look out their window and see what happened. This is very important to this case. You could not, if you were the neighbors of the Korziliuses, you could not just look out your window and see what happened, because your house was several miles away from their house. Well, not miles, but hundreds of feet. That's very important to understand before we get into anything on this case. This is why nobody saw anything, and there is no witnesses to what happened to this poor little first grader going into first grade, 6-year-old. No one knows what really happened to her, though people like me and authorities can only speculate and give scenarios. Her real name was Katherine Erin Korzilius. The case is a suspicious death. The location was in Austin, Texas, and it was extremely hot on that day. That's another important fact about this case. So hot you could fry an egg on the pavement. That's what my grandmother used to say, but that's how hot it was. That's very important to note in this case as well. The date was August 7th, 1996, and that is some part of the title of the song that Bon Jovi made about this poor little girl that he knew personally, by the way. The details of the case are such. Katherine Korzilius was born in 1989. She was the 6-year-old daughter of Paul Korzilius, the tour manager for Jon Bon Jovi. She lived with her family in Elder Circle, a small upper middle class neighborhood near Austin, Texas, on August 7th, 1996. She and her mother, Nancy, and her brother, Chris, went out to run errands. It was also Paul's birthday, so they picked up a present for him as well. When they arrived in Elder Circle, Nancy allowed Katherine to pick up their mail at the community mailbox near the house and then walk home. She would take the shorter route, while Nancy and Chris would drive the longer route on Elder Circle. However, after a few minutes passed and she had not returned, Nancy asked Chris to go look out for her. Now, important details on this. It was the husband's birthday, and what bothers me is why he was out of town attending business meetings. I mean, this guy had been Bon Jovi's manager for 10 years. It bothers me that a guy, he lives in this area, which is $1 million homes, you might as well say. He's not destitute. My question is, does he need to be working on his birthday? That just bothers me. I don't know. And they were out shopping for him for a birthday present. I believe they got him golf clubs or something. And the mother, before you say that she's a bad mother, she had done this many times in the past. Katherine did, asked to walk home at least 2 or 3 times, I would say, several. Asked to walk home like a big girl after getting the mail. She actually, Katherine's mother, actually expected it. And the Unsolved Mystery Case, he says the mother knew what was coming next after she got the mail. She immediately asked her, "Can I walk home with the mail, Mommy?" And she had done this in the past with no problems. That's very important to note. And also the routes that they took. The mother took the shorter route. It is said that Katherine took the longer route. Just said, we don't know. That's part of the mystery. That's part of the mystery, guys. We don't know what route she took. As we listen to Bon Jovi in the background. When Chris was unable to find Katherine, Nancy got into her car and they began to search for her. Within minutes, they found her lying on the road in Elder Circle. Nancy noticed that she was unconscious but still breathing. She decided that she would pick her up and drive her to the hospital. She had suffered a fractured skull. She never regained consciousness and died later that day. Now, her mother was used to driving that route to the hospital because she had just done it. Katherine was an active girl. She was in ballet. She was into sports, softball, and she just had acquired an injury not too long before this horrible incident. She had a splint on one of her fingers. I want to say it was her index finger. So she had broken her index finger, and Katherine's mom had driven her to this hospital that time, and she knew the route and was confident she could get her there, as opposed to calling the ambulance and waiting for them. And she did say that she had heard that she's not supposed to pick up a person that's unconscious, but what would you do, guys, if your son or daughter was laying there helpless, unconscious? I think I would do the same. I would pick them up, rush them to the hospital as fast as I can. I can't blame her for that. And she had suffered a fractured skull, but the autopsy proved later on that it could not have been from a hit and run. There was only one side damage and there was no other broken bones or anything. If you get thrown from a moving vehicle, or you get hit by a moving vehicle, you're going to have more damage than just a fractured skull. It's just plain fact. But there was none, so the person that did the autopsy thought that she got thrown from a moving vehicle. Her injuries suggested that was a more likely scenario. From the start, everyone assumed that Katherine had been the victim of a hit-and-run accident. However, her family did not understand why she was found in a part of Elder Circle. Nancy last saw her walking towards their house. However, her body was found along the route that Nancy and Chris had driven home, half a mile from the mailbox. This was the opposite direction that she was supposed to have gone. Now, this is what I think happened. When the mother left after getting the mail and saying, "Hey, Katherine, I'll see you at home," Katherine began to walk in the direction that she was supposed to go, opposite of where her mother drove off. Her mother drove off, and another car came going in the same direction that the mother just had left in. Now you're following me? So look at the map. Another car came this way, and her mother was going that way. Another car came this way. Katherine was beginning her walk. The guy yelled to her, "Hey!" Some kind of ruse was presented to her, and she came back. When she came back to talk to the nice man that she thought, or whoever it was, the nice abductor, they grabbed her and they either knocked her in the skull with some kind of blunt object, or they grabbed her and they weren't too skilled at doing this. This was their first time, and this abduction went way wrong. Katherine fought, and she managed to get herself out of the car, and she fell on one of the turns and knocked her head, the side that was fractured, just knocked it into the pavement as the guy was turning. And the guy got out. The abductor, whoever it was, said to himself, "Oh my God, what have I done? This went totally wrong. I got to get out of here." And again, the houses were far spaced apart. You would have to get binoculars to see what's going out on the roads. There's hills, you can't just look across the street and be a witness to this abduction gone wrong. This is what I believe happened. So he staged her body so someone would find her, and he got the hell out of there. That's what I think happened in a nutshell. That's just me being a detective. I don't know. I think I was a senior in high school when this happened. So I had never even heard of it until recently. This is one of those true crime cases that people can't solve. The medical examiner's report seemed to deepen the mystery. He determined that Katherine had not died from a hit-and-run accident. In addition, the head injury, he found abrasions on her left shoulder, the small of her back, her right hip, and her knees. He believed that she had either jumped, fallen, or was thrown from a moving vehicle. One theory proposed by investigators was that she had tried to hold on to the back of Nancy's car on the ride home but had fallen off. This would explain where her body was found in Elder Circle. But also my theory explains that too. He was going the way the mother was going, the abductor. So, and that's the way he continued to go when he grabbed her. He called her and changed her direction. Called out to her. Some kind of ruse, I don't know. It worked, whatever it was. And this girl would not, that's ridiculous, the grabbing on in the back. She had a splint on her hand. She wasn't able to work all her fingers right. And she just wasn't the type to do that kind of thing. She was in ballet. She had dance recitals on stage. She did piano recitals on stage. She was daddy's little girl and mommy's little girl. And it just doesn't seem like the type of kid that would do some kind of crazy stunt like that. You know, she wasn't that type of kid. I find it hard to believe that a kid that is in all these, has, you know, been on stage in the past and does all these ballerina and piano stuff and is into sports and knows responsibility, is gonna do some kind of harebrained crazy thing like, I'm gonna jump on the back like Back to the Future, like Marty McFly did. You know, that doesn't jive with me. I don't know. This doesn't add up. However, Catherine's family does not believe this theory. They hired private investigator Barbara O'Brien. She noted that since it was hot, like again, remember I said it was hot enough to fry an egg out on the pavement. It was a hot August day. It would have been difficult for Katherine to hold onto the back of Nancy's car. There were only two places for her to do so, a bar on the top and the back door handle. However, the back door would have opened if she held onto the handle. Also, her left thumb was broken. Okay, it was her thumb. I was mistaken on that. Her left thumb was broken and in a splint, which would have made it difficult for her to hold on to anything. Finally, Nancy should have been able to see her in the rearview mirror. Catherine's family instead believes that she was abducted and murdered. A vacant lot about 30 yards from the mailbox may have provided a clue. A few days after her death, investigators brought in the K9 unit, which picked up scent in that lot. It was lost after there. This suggests that she was walking in that direction where she may have been abducted. Nancy also noted that when she found her body, it appeared that she had been laid out for her to find. Her hair was smoothed down and her shirt was straight. Her shirts were straight and her toes were pointed straight and her sandals were kept on. Yes, this all falls into line of what I'm saying. This had to have been an abduction gone wrong. Now, I'm fuzzy on how the abduction actually happened, but I believe that's what happened. It's the only way to explain this. Somebody was inexperienced at doing this, but they wanted to do it. May have even known the child and have been planning this. She may have known her abductor too. I just thought of that too. And that's why he was able to call her and get her to come in his direction. He knew her. Somebody knows something on this case, though. All these years later, someone has to know something. And it is sad. It's a sad case. Very sad. The mom knows her daughter was killed, but she just doesn't know how. It's gotta eat away at her, you know. I still can't get that out of my head that the father was working on his birthday, especially when you're like the manager of Bon Jovi for 10 years. What do you need to be working on your birthday for? I don't like that. It doesn't sit well with me. I don't think that's normal for someone that's living like a charmed life like this family was. They were living a charmed life. Until that happened. A year later, Katherine's neighbors and elder circle planted a tree and placed a plaque in her name. Her family hopes that someone will come forward to give new information on this case. As of yet, no suspects have been found or identified in this case. Nancy is considered a possible suspect in that Katherine may have grabbed onto her car while it was in motion and fallen off at the point where she was found in Elder Circle. That's a ludicrous idea. I just don't believe that. However, her family has found evidence that points away from that theory. Katherine's family believes that she was abducted in the vacant lot near the mailbox. They believe she either jumped, fell out, or was thrown from that abductor's vehicle. And I believe that too. Extra notes. This case was aired on May 22nd, 1998, episode of Unsolved Mysteries. The incident was immortalized by Bon Jovi in the song August 7th, 4:15, the date and time of Katherine's death. Yes, and this all happened in a span of 15 minutes, too. I forgot to mention that. It's important, too. Paul now is a board member for John Bon Jovi's foundation. Paul is the father. Results unsolved. It is unsolved. Chris later became a senior deputy for the Travis County Sheriff's Office. Sadly, he was killed in a car accident on March 18th, 2020 at the age of 32. Well, I didn't know that. That makes it even worse. God, they had both their kids died in awful circumstances. That's just awful. I feel for the parents. Bon Jovi did make a song, which we just told you about. He also made, it's off the Destination Anywhere album. You can hear that song. And also he made Destination Anywhere, the movie, with Demi Moore and him, and I think I saw Kevin Bacon in there too. If I'm not crazy or seeing things, I saw the Bacon Man in there too. But yeah, that was really good. It's called Destination Anywhere, the movie, and it was made in '97. Really good. It tells you not about this case, but it tells you about how they dealt and what they did after this case had happened, and it just focuses on the parents' struggle, and I thought it was really well done. And Bon Jovi is impressed me. He impressed me with his acting skills. He's really not a one-trick pony. He's great. I'm a big fan, and an even bigger fan since I saw that.
Who's that woman? We love her. She's a really great singer, and everyone thinks she looks exactly
All right, guys.
like Donna Summer.
That does it for the Katherine Korzilius case, guys. This is another mystery in the book, Drone. You have any information, you got to contact Crime Stoppers or something like that. You can't contact me. I'm just an artist. But again, Katherine Korzilius, unexplained death. This is what she looked like, guys. Be good to one another. Do something nice today for somebody. It makes everybody feel good. Peace out, true believers.